high school?
You played football. I was on the team. I was more of like the scout squad, but yes, I was there with you.
The quarterback, though.
Yeah.
Quarterback. Yeah, I tried to be the quarterback in 8th grade, and they moved me to fullback, which is in retrospect the right move.
Yeah, that's right. I remember all that. Those were good times, though. 7th and 8th grade, Pop Warner. That was fun times, too.
I remember that, talking about how I told the patient today, in order to play in 8th grade, I had to go on Weight Watchers just to make weight.
Oh, I was like right there too. I was right there too. In I think 7th and 8th grade, I was on the every week. It was like, oh man, gotta
Like,
you know,
make it,
yeah.
So since then, it's been a lot of years as we're getting older, and you and I, we've seen each other here and there, but kind of lost touch, so to speak. And you started your own podcast where I heard your story.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I wanted to have you on. We talk about this as the Stay Healthy New Jersey podcast. And listen, we could do a podcast on what vitamins to take and all this crap. But for me, I think what's cool is to hear someone like your story who hasn't been all great the whole time, and now you're on your way back, getting back to where you should be. And I mean, the first thing for me is I admire the fact that how open you are to sharing, because I think it helps people.
Yeah, when I was going through everything, obviously nobody knew. So best friends, I mean, my brother, family, they didn't really know everything going on. And that was kind of something, then it gets to the point where, especially with social media and stuff, and, you're sure that people are saying stuff and this, and not that I care about what anybody says, but, you want your name to be at least be cleared. So once I finally got back on track, I couldn't wait to finally put it out. And, I started finally talking about it last April, so that's when it.
So then let's go back to I think the whole thing, from what I heard your story about, because we never talked about it one-on-one, goes back to it sort of started in college.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a quick recap from the beginning. I'll make it all kind of make sense at the end. But growing up, I had a great childhood. I lived in a 2-family house, and my grandparents lived on the other side. And I mean, it was like basically having like another family. I was always in there, and then my aunt, my dad's sister, was like a third like parent. So like we had everything we wanted. Everything was great. Parents fought a lot. They ended up getting divorced into college, which started sparking some stuff. But then I 7th, 8th grade through high school, when we weren't playing football, I always worked. I always liked nice things, and this will come into play later. So always wanted to have nice things, have my own money and stuff, on top of getting everything I wanted. So that's just was always in my mind, having nice stuff, working to have it. And high school, we went to parties and stuff, and I was never a real big drinker. Never really did anything for me. I tried pot like twice. I never got high or anything, so I just wasn't into that. My parents split up, got divorced right at the end of my senior year, right before graduation and stuff. So I went to college. I went away to Bloomsburg University in Pennsylvania. And yeah, that's when the party started. That's really when the party started. Ended up joining a frat my spring of freshman year. So going out, drinking and stuff more. And again, I always like not having nice stuff. So I wasn't working now. So this freshman year, so I was trying to figure out how I was going to make money. The spring semester, pretty much finishing up, going into the summer of my freshman year, I started smoking again. I was like, I love this. I have an addictive personality, which we'll talk about soon, and if I do something, it's got to be 100%. So I pretty much just started smoking this summer going into my sophomore year. By like that October, I was selling pretty decent amounts of it, so just to make the money. So the money started coming in. My stepbrother at the time, knew about gambling and stuff like that, so same thing, pretty much my freshman year, that summer when I started smoking and stuff, started betting on games and stuff, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. This is amazing. So, all of college, it progressed into other things, and it was just a party. My first 2 years, I mean, my sophomore fall semester, I got like a 1.0. Like, again, I wasn't talking to my dad. There was stuff going on with that. Not anything that's what I'm going to talk about, just...
And you're not a dumb guy. We both know that.
Oh, no. Yeah.
It had nothing to do with...
I didn't go to class. I didn't even know where half of my classes were. So, that's how it was. Like I said, it was a party. It was all party, just letting loose. Like I said, my parents just got divorced. I'm just running wild. You know what I mean? Just completely running wild. It was a great time, don't get me wrong. But... So yeah, I picked it back up. I got like 3 5s the rest of the way because I was like on academic probation, all this other stuff. I was like, okay, what am I doing? So, but still partying, like I said, selling these things, gambling and stuff. So, money's coming in really well. There was a couple times, when you're doing that kind of stuff, your friends get stuck, this happens. So I had learned that kind of aspect of it from, again, not that I'm promoting selling drugs and shit, obviously, but this was what got me to where I am today. And so I took a couple hits here and there. You learn the ways of business kind of through that. And I would say I was down with gambling once or twice, maybe like $1,000, and then like another time the worst was like $2,000 or something. And that's a lot of money, but at the time that wasn't a lot of money because I had other ways to pay it off. So, I for the most part I relatively did pretty well gambling and stuff. And so then it was after college. Then we went to so going back to the thing about my grades and stuff. I kind of was really getting into law, and I took the LSATs, got like I want to say a 172, or it was like a 168. I'm almost positive, like the highest at the time was like a 180. So like I killed the LSATs. I was really good with that kind of stuff, but my GPA wasn't great. So, and at the time, my stepdad, not at the time, but when my mom got together with my stepdad, he owns a mortgage company. So, I had drawn always as a kid. My mom could give me a piece of paper and I was good for hours. I used to love like graphic design and Photoshop when that first kind of started coming out. I was taking classes in high school. Freshman year, I was taking classes at Bloomsburg. I was like, that's really what I want to do. And when my, mom got together with my stepdad, he owned the mortgage company. I was like, I want to wear a suit every day. That's what I want to do. Didn't like it. So I in the long run, I stopped doing the art, and it was all about marketing, all about business classes and all that kind of stuff. So that's where I was going. After college, I actually started working with a lawyer. I didn't like it. I went to my stepdad's mortgage company. Moved to Hoboken. This was 2010, so this was like a year removed from college. I'm living with my brother, one of my best friends. We had an amazing time. At this point, still gambling, selling all this other kind of stuff. So I don't want to say that it was just because I didn't like the mortgages that I didn't do well. I didn't give it my all. Again, I was like 23, 24, living in Hoboken. Again, the party was still going. So from like 2004, now we're at 2010, the party never stopped. So it's continuing to go. And what happened was, again, down here and there, but never anything too crazy. So then we're at like 2011. I ended up moving back home because then I went from working with my stepdad at his mortgage company. Then I went to do some marketing at hospitals and all that kind of stuff. And I just didn't like it.
So you're doing like a normal 9 to 5.
Yeah, normal 9 to 5 at the time. And just trying to, again, so many young people like go through this where you don't know what you want to do, and that's okay. Like you don't have to know what you want to do. Like it'll come. Obviously, try to do the right thing. If I could go back, I wouldn't have done the gambling and selling the other things. But, again, that's just my story. But yeah, I really had no idea what I wanted to do. I wasn't happy, in all the jobs that I was doing. I was just trying to find myself, with everything going on. So after Hoboken, I was there for 2.5 years, moved back home, left the job with the, actually I got fired from the job with the, doing marketing at hospitals. We had like a little instant messenger thing that you could talk to with your employees. And it was like a sales job, and you're cold calling all these places trying to get in. And we would just make fun of the guy, the owner, all the time. I would make fun of the guy a lot. And I guess he had read all the text messages. And I was killing it. Like, I was on this market where everybody that was there, I was the newest guy, everybody that was there tried to call on this market and get business, and it was nothing. So I'm calling these companies that have been called literally 4 times from my place, and I got like 4 deals, which was unheard of for this market. So I was killing it. But yeah, he saw those. I didn't know this till after, when my buddy kind of told me he thought that's what would happen. But yeah, they let me go, and that's what the reason was. Right. But so I moved back home. Now we're talking like 2011, 2012. I started working with my dad. He does construction. And I'm miserable. deep down inside, obviously you go out, you have a good time, but I was just kind of miserable, doing construction again with my dad, which I had done for summers and this and this. I'm living at home where I was just in Hoboken. And so towards the end of 2012, I kind of wanted to start like a clothing company. Mm-hmm. And so I started drawing and sketching and stuff again around 2012. So going into now the summer of 2013, again, now at this time I had stopped selling stuff, so I was just gambling. And what was I just saying? So, okay, with the clothing, I started drawing and stuff. And, I was having fun, I really liked it, but again, I'm living at home with my dad, like, I love him to death, but we've always kind of butted heads, so being there every day didn't help.
Sure.
I went on like a crazy run. Like, again, for the most part, I always won. There was a couple times I lost, but I went on like a crazy run. I'm talking, I'm getting like, I'm meeting some of these bookies and I'm picking up like 15, 20K cash like weekly. So I have like 2 shoeboxes full of money, and
and at the time, this is, back when gambling was all, you couldn't really do it like quote unquote legally.
Well, see, and that's another thing. See, I don't promote gambling, obviously. It tore my life apart. But again, that's like some people can't drink. Not to say everybody can't drink.
Sure.
If you can control it, you could have fun with it. Hey, it is what it is. But back in the day, there's not like these websites like DraftKings, whatever all the other ones are now, where you have to put money into the account to bet it. So, yeah, you can lose everything you got, but you can't go into the basement. You know what I mean? Yeah. So back then, what my problem was, you meet people through other people, and they give you an account. Let's just say $1,000. That's just imaginary. You didn't give the guy anything, so you might not even have that $1,000 to bet.
Right.
So you lose that. You didn't have it in the first place. You're fucked already.
Yeah.
So I'm going on these runs, and what happens is, at one point, my limits, I had like 4 different people. It was like 5K each thing. Now let's go back to that $1,000 example. So let's say I win $3,000, right? If my limit's only $1,000, that would take 3 complete losing weeks for that bookie to make their money back. So once you get down, they're going to give you more money in the account for that week because they want to see it. And listen, I'm not like I had a pretty good rapport with my bookies. There was a couple that I hated, but most of them, when I did get into trouble, like, they literally felt bad. I'm not even just saying that. They were like, because I was a good guy, you know what I mean? Like that wasn't me to like get in that spot, which we'll get into. But so yeah, it's not like the movies where it some spots it is like the movies if you get in deep like that. You know what I mean? I knew some guys that would have done some shit, and I knew stories. But so yeah, I'm winning like 15, 20 grand, getting cash, weekly. Like I'm Snapchatting my friends, like I'm like, okay, so we go into summer 2013. We had gotten shore houses and stuff in the past. We get a shore house, and I'm just like on this tear.
So at that point, are you basically just like, is that how you're making a living, gambling?
No. See, again, like my family and stuff didn't know the depth, so I was working with my dad. I was doing construction with my dad and stuff. This is actually like kind of right after Sandy, so we like had to get like the whole shore house. He's got a shore house in Toms River. We had to get the whole place all redone and stuff, and plus there was so much work down there to do. So that's what I was doing. So I lived down the shore for summer 2013. We're going to DJs, headliners, all those places down the shore, having a great time. Now it's, September, October 2013. Moved back, back home with the dad and everything. And at this time, I was like on and off with a girlfriend for like, we had dated for like a year, but I was like, you're on and off for like another 1.5 years, 2 years. And, I was just completely lost. You look back on it, and like I had a question on my podcast last week, was like, what would I change? I wouldn't change anything that I did because it got me to where I am, and I wouldn't be this person now who I am. And like I think that's in everybody, where there's people that are gonna be listening to my stuff that they're not happy with where they are right now. And sometimes I talk about it. I'll get into like me gaining like the weight and losing it, having a job. It's as easy as just saying make a plan and follow it. Like you want to lose weight, make a plan, watch what you eat, and exercise. It's that easy. Like you don't have to climb Mount Everest, find a golden ticket and like a candy. It's not some secret. Some things are that easy. You hate your job, you can't just quit it, but look into something else. It's not always money. So It's September, October, fall of 2013. I got 2 shoeboxes full of money. That question that the girl asked me about what I had changed, I could have started my clothing company right there and done it the right way. I was just completely not in that mental state. So I had moved back to Hoboken, really in hopes of getting back with my girlfriend. She lived in Jersey City at the time. I told everybody in my family that I was working in the city doing some marketing job. Yeah, I can't tell them, hey, I just won tens of thousands of dollars gambling. So I got this apartment, and it's this $2,300 a month bachelor pad. And I mean, it was beautiful. In Hoboken, absolutely beautiful. One of those like bathrooms where you could sit in with a tile, and it comes down in you. Yeah. So I paid for that for it was like a 6-month lease that they had open, and then somebody was moving in. So I paid the full 6 months up front, went out, got the fucking huge TV, new couches. I mean, it was crazy, And again, still not happy though. Now I'm in this place where I should have been happy. I mean, not really, because you're not doing what you love, and I knew what I was doing was wrong in the back of my mind.
It sounds to me like at that moment was when, I don't know if there was, obviously going through it, I'm sure there was a little like white lies, all this, but at that point when you said you're moving to Hoboken and telling everyone you're working in the city and you're not, to me it's almost like that's where you almost cross the threshold.
That's
living a life
that's when I knew I fucked up, to be honest, and I'm glad that you brought that. Again, I'm trying to think of dates, so my mind's all over the place. When I signed the lease for the apartment, I knew I fucked up. I said, what am I doing? What am I doing? First of all, why am I getting a place that's $2,300 a month? There was just so many other things I could have done. I knew I was wrong at this point, and this was basically where shit really started getting downhill. So I moved back there 2013 fall. I had a couple of my buddies that had accounts under me, that I knew the bookies and stuff. So I was, I'd meet them for their money. I'd go drop, I was like which everybody does. So there was like, 1 week, and I wanted to make this sound like this was, and again, there's a lot of highs, I'm not bragging because we're going to get to a lot of lows, and I don't want people to feel sorry. Everything that I did, 100% was me. I put myself in every situation, nobody else, so I don't want people to think like I'm bragging or start feeling bad for me when we start getting deep. It is what it is. I caused everything. But there was it was the NFL playoffs, and it was just like a 2-week run where everybody lost, and like 3 of my friends, I knew they were good for the money, but a couple $1,000 each, I ended up paying for them. I covered their thing for the 2 weeks. So now the shoebox full of money that was stacked is dwindling down to a couple stacks, and I'm like, fuck. So the 3rd week, I just went like crazy. And again, this is what I was going back to, where you're winning all this money, the bookies want it back. So I had like 4 places that had $5,000 limits. You lose that by Wednesday, they're going to give you another $5,000. So now we're talking money that I didn't have. So it was one of the games was the Carolina Panthers. I'll never forget it. They were playing the Seattle Seahawks, and I had them like first quarter, first half game, loss, and I was like deep in the hole. So this is where now I had a couple other buddies who were doing really well. Now, where I really dug myself in the hole was I'd ask them if I could borrow some money for the week. I'd make up some elaborate excuse. Again, they knew what I was. They only saw the outside. So they're like, this guy's doing great. You know what I mean? They come into my place. Oh, this guy's doing great. I didn't have like $1 at the. Everything was gone now. So I make up these big excuses. And this went on for like about a month, almost 2 months. They let me borrow money. Let's say somebody let me borrow $5,000. Let's say somebody let me borrow $3,000. I'd give them $5,000 back. So I'm just throwing money away. You know what I mean? And again, I was winning though to cover the spread, but this was like life or death almost in a sense. So there was days when now I'm waking up and I'm like, do I go get some food or do I go get a 24-pack to drink? Just to get through the day, So that's where it started getting to, where I'm drinking all day now. Again, I'm living in a $2,300 a month bachelor pad in Hoboken. There was like little glass shelves that were in there, and I had like all Jordans on it and stuff. So like, it was just such a facade, and it's
Did
just.
you know that at the time? Like, were you conscious of like, this is all made up, or you weren't even thinking about it at that time?
At that time, yes, absolutely. Like I said, even going back to when I signed that lease to go there, I knew something bad was coming. I didn't know it was going to get this bad, but I knew something bad was coming. So, again, after that little 3-week run where I'm dishing out money, I'm getting nervous, and then I go on that terrible week that just put me into the hole big time. Yeah, I was like, because again, eventually then I sold the iMac. I had to sell the shoes, sell everything. So yeah, this is when that started. Now it got to the point where, every day I'm drinking. So I definitely developed a drinking problem, because I'm like, how am I going to come up with this money? Again, you go on, you have a couple of years report with some of these bookies, and especially me, I'm a good talker. That's why I thought I would have been real good with being a lawyer. Not that they all lie, but I'm very good with words and weaseling out of situations. Like I said, I would email some buddies, and I had like 4 or 5 friends that lent me money, and everybody eventually got paid back. And again, some of them, not that they were taking advantage of me, but some of them were getting like $2,000 a week, to do it and stuff. And that's really where I dug myself in a hole, because now I'm just trying to survive, get my running. There was at this point there was never gonna be getting out of this. You know what I mean? I was just literally hanging on by a thread. And I knew that. I did. I really knew that I was just hanging on by a thread, just trying to make it work.
So when you feel like at that point where there's like you're not getting out of it, what happens? Like what do you do?
It got worse. For me now, like I said, I had like 2 months left, or like a month left at this time. Now again, I'm drinking. I have a beautiful place in Hoboken. I remember one time it was St. Patty's Day, the Leprechaun or whatever they have in Hoboken. My brother was seeing a girl at the time, and he wanted to come up. I was just like so out of it. Like I couldn't, I remember that because I was like pissed at myself that I wasn't able to do that. That would have been a fun day, But I didn't leave the house. I left the house to go get beer every day, and I literally, or vodka or whatever it was, or Seagram's. That was my drink, 7 and 7. That's what I drank to mask the pain. Every day I'd be drinking. Every other day I'd be throwing up in that shower that I love so much. That's where I was at. I was at where I thought was the darkest place in my life. And again, my family has no idea. My brother's got no idea who's my best friend. My friends have no idea. Nobody's got any idea. And finally, the lease came out, ran out, and my plan at the time when I signed the lease, I knew it was only for 6 months. I was going to move somewhere else. I was going to keep things going, this lifestyle going. So I have to move back home. So I just went from a $2,300 a month bachelor pad with every toy you could want to now I'm back home. Now I told them that I got something happened, bullshit, and I got let go from this job. So again, now I'm back to working with my dad again. And this went on, through into the summer of 2014, into the fall of 2014. And now I'm drinking every day. Sometimes I'm so fucked up. We do construction. It's the summer, it's hot outside. I'm chugging 2 glasses of wine before we go to work just to get to work. And then I'm throwing up on the side. So my dad saw me, he'd fucking kill me. So, that's where I was at. It was just every day. It was just sports. I remember being at this place in Hoboken. I'm up till 4 a.m, researching the next night, seeing, how am I going to make this back the next day, and just drinking just to fall asleep for a couple hours, because you're not sleeping obviously well.
So what was rock bottom then?
So after I'm home, I'm down huge. Now people are letting you pay it off, okay? So it's not like, again, I built this rapport with these bookies, so they're letting me pay it off over time. But I had 1 or 2 that I was still going with, and I still had good credit with, that I was kind of even. And then I had lost big, 2 weeks in a row. I couldn't come up with it. So now I'm talking 20, 30 grand. I got to come up. That's not even the whole thing. That's what I got to come out with. Going back to my grandparents, I live in a 2-family house. Now my grandmother passed away in 2009 when I was in college. So my grandfather was still living in the house. My grandmother is an old Italian lady, and they just like cash. You know what I mean? They like cash, and she had cash here. And when she was getting really sick, I know she used to tell me, didn't say where it was, but just say, If you need something, if you not in this, I don't mean
Sure,
this. I'm not saying this. I knew she didn't mean this, but I remember going up and thinking the one day, just like, okay, let me see what I could do. I looked in a couple drawers and just like a stack. I'm talking tens of thousands of dollars. I'm like, perfect. And now in my stupid delusional thinking, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put this back. Because again, once you win, I was getting 20 grand. One week I won 30 grand in cash with two people. Two people handed me 15K in cash. I was like, wow, it's like a fairy tale. Like it's not even real anymore. And again, this goes back to college. I'm selling weed. I was selling something else my junior and senior year. Money's just everywhere. I thought I was like Tony Montana. You know what I mean? And real life, it wasn't real life. That literally from my sophomore year when I started. So that's why I say that. It was 2004 till like 2014, 10 years straight of partying. I mean, clubs, bottles, going down the shore houses, whatever it was, nice clothes, this, that. It just wasn't real because it wasn't sustainable. I didn't actually, it was just, like I said, it could have been gone like that, and it was gone like that.
Yeah.
So I take the money, and what actually happened was, this went on for like a couple months. I would win, I'd put it back, I'd lose, I'd take it again. Win, put it back, lose, take it again. So then I lost it all. Now that's all gone. I mean, I got like, I'm still betting because there was like one bookie left that was like, let me bet. I'm paying off like whatever I can a week to the other guys, a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there. Now I'm drinking. Again, this is when I was saying like, working in the summer stuff. It's like all day. As soon as I get home, it's all day. It was sports for like 5 years, all I watched. I never watched TV shows. I didn't watch movies. I was watching SportsCenter. I fell asleep at SportsCenter, woke up at SportsCenter. I had the laptop on, going through stats and this, trying to figure it out. So rock bottom was this point. This was like in 2014 into 15. There was a year and a half. Pretty much, I barely slept. I slept a couple hours a night and just waiting because my aunt would have been the one. She took care of my grandfather, so she came over every day. She would have been the one to find. She knew everything. Obviously my grandma told her where everything was and stuff. And so for a year and a half, I'm literally waiting for my aunt to find this. So I'm not sleeping. I would text her like around lunch when she was there just to see the vibe, and then I would text her around like 4 or 5 when she went home, and I was good for the day now. That's when I would really drink, just to get my head out of that mode.
Right.
So this was rock bottom. This is a year and a half of waiting and waiting and waiting for my aunt to find out. Now, when that kind of happened, I told my family I had a drinking problem. I did have a drinking problem. It was really, though, because of the gambling. I was just trying to get through the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I told them that, I told some of my buddies that, just, it was like a little, like, tester. Let me see, how they bite on this, because, again, I kind of knew I was a shell of what I was. And so everybody, they thought that's what it was. Again, there was a time here or there when I had said something about gambling, but it wasn't a big, because everything else was going so great. Like they just believed that was it. So they had an idea about it, but again, nobody had any idea like the spot that I was in. And a lot of people that are in that spot can hide it well. And that's one thing with gambling. I ended up, and we'll get into it in a minute, but I ended up going to GA. And Gamblers Anonymous, and seeing a therapist and stuff, and they finally kind of put that in the same like boat as, not in the same boat exactly, but with drugs and alcohol, because with drugs and alcohol, I'm sure everybody here and everybody listening has known somebody that passed away from some kind of drugs. It's the opioid epidemic and heroin. It's crazy what it's doing to people.
Yeah.
With drinking, you can see somebody decreasing, especially with drugs. I mean, you're going to see right away.
It's a good point.
Yeah, with drinking, you're going to start noticing. Yeah. With gambling, like I said, even though I was drinking and stuff, there's
no physical
right.
There is, but not really.
Right, and with me, I'm such a good, talker. I could like talk my way out of stuff. So again, I'm drinking all day, every day. not sleeping, and my family has no idea. So that's you know what I mean. Again, it's not like they didn't care. They just the lies and stuff just took over. So that's where we're at. We're at like 2015. You know, thousands and tens of thousands of dollars in debt. Now I got credit card debt. You know, all my credit cards are maxed out. Again, I'm living at home. I just feel like a piece of shit. You know what I mean? And I'm like, again, it's still like in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna win it back and put it back.
Right.
I knew I wasn't now. Like once this happened, like when I moved to Hoboken and when I moved back to Hoboken with the 2 shoeboxes full of money, at that point I still thought I could make this last for a long time or even like a career, you know, because again, once you win that amount of money, you're like, I can do it again.
It's like playing golf. You hit the 10 horrible shots, but you hit the one.
Right.
I can do this again.
Yeah, exactly. So, but then, you know, once I moved back, I realized, like I said, it was all facade. This was not sustainable. And especially when I lost everything, you know, from my grandfather's place. And again, like I said, I'm waiting now. I'm waiting for somebody to find out. And this was like right at the end of September 2015. No, 2016. It was either 2015 or 2016. I always forget that one date, but it's September, end of September. Actually, this was in the summer. They had found that the money was gone. So, like, I remember getting that text, and it was almost like a relief because I've been waiting on this. You know what I mean? And they were pissed, and I lied. I said, I don't know. I have no idea. You know, at the time there were some caretakers coming by and stuff. You know, they knew. I think they didn't want to believe it, but they knew. But my aunt didn't know it was all gone. You know, it was like the one drawer, so they didn't let it slide, but I was like on thin ice right there. So like everyone's mad at me. And then I had gone to my aunt's like once or twice. I had a key there, and I knew she kept money. I took that, and you know, she found that, and I remember I was like, at the time I was like thinking about going back to school at Rutgers just to get like a master's degree. Again, like I'm just so like all over the place.
Yeah.
Just trying to figure out how to come back, you know, just whatever it could be. Now at this time as well, after they found that some money was taken, I'm working with my dad. My brother was DJing, so on the weekends I would go and work with him, you know, just helping set up. And then like 4 nights a week, sometimes 5 nights a week, I'd go work at Home Depot, overnight shift. So again, you want to talk about ground at rock bottom, this is my rock bottom. But still knowing that more was coming, you know what I mean? Eventually, you know, more was going to be found out, and that was coming down on me. So my aunt finally found, you know, everything was gone from her place. I was driving through Rutgers just looking at the campus, and I got the text, and I was like, fuck. So she told my dad, and my dad was down the shore at the time, and I think he called me or texted me, I forget, but he just said, you got like 3 days, you got to get out of the house. And, you know, luckily for me at this time, you know, my mom was always, you know, again, not happy with me, but didn't, you know, she was still on my side. My brother, like I said, is my best friend since day one. He been very disappointed, you know, which hurt the most, disappointing them, who's always had my back. That's what really hurt, but at least they were there for me. So I hit up the twins, you know, Laquan and Rashawn. I asked them I just said I got in a fight with my dad, if I could just crash for the weekend. So I went there. This was right at the end of September, and then I was for like those 5 days. I still had like a online account that I'm betting, and I was just like, okay, I was like, this is it. I gotta stop. So it was October 4th. I want to say, again, I don't remember. I don't know why I always forget if it was 2015 or 16. I think it was 2016. I called. You know, I looked it up. There was like a GA number. I called them. They hook you up with a you know, therapist in the network and stuff, depending on what your coverage is. And obviously I didn't have any medical coverage, so pay out of pocket. I went to see one guy. I you know, didn't really like him. They gave me another lady, and she was my therapist. You know, I went and saw her. Then when I got back that night, I finally broke down, told the twins, you know, I mean, like just absolutely just lost. You know, I'm like, damn. I'm like, because I always thought so highly of myself. And, you know, I took pride in being like a good person for like the most part. You know, my buddies in college know, even after I helped everybody, you know, if I had it, everybody had it. That's just how I was.
Right.
So, I mean, they let me crash there for a couple months. I remember, obviously my mom and my brother knew at that point because I got kicked out, but then they finally knew. I had told like one or two of my other close friends, what was going on. So yeah, this was like October 4th, 2016. I started going to GA. I had to go to do that weekly, and I met with my therapist. I think in the beginning we did 2 days a week, but it might have been one. And I had gone to a therapist before when my parents got divorced. That kind of like messed me up. So I saw like somebody twice, and then towards like the end of college, like twice over girls and shit. Just I look back like, what was I doing? And so I told them, they let me stay. They're like, dude, like whatever you need. And so I'm going to GA now, and I'm going to therapy. I don't go to GA anymore. Just me. And again, I don't want to say like, go to it and then don't do it. Like I think everybody's different. I don't think there's like an actual model for anybody to follow for anything in life.
Right.
When I was trying to do the clothing company before, shit hit the fan, you couldn't Google how to start a clothing company and they shoot you out a checklist.
Right.
You got to figure it out as you go.
Right.
And it's the same thing with life. And that's why I say with kids, like they don't know what they want to do. Like maybe they're getting pressured. Like you'll figure it out. Stay, obviously work.
Yeah.
Try to make plans and stuff. You're gonna fail. Keep going. Obviously I don't do get as bad as I got.
Right.
But you're gonna find yourself when you want to. So, with me with the GA, it helped. Listen, I wouldn't be here without them. I was able to sit down. I had 17 credit cards at the time. We put together a plan. We called all the places. Made like a decent thing. Now with them, they wanted me to do like $5 a month to some of the like. Luckily, my credit cards, I had like a lot of like $500 ones. There was a couple like $2,000-$3,000, and then one like a couple like $5,000. So it was the gambling that those guys that I owed the big money to. But the credit cards were still in like the 30s, $40,000, maybe even like a little bit more than that. But again, they wanted me to do like $5 a month. This would go on for
the end of time.
Yeah, I'm like I can't do that. And like. They want to help you, so they mean well. They don't want to see you get in too hard. So I stuck to what they said in the beginning. I think I went there total for, I think about like a year. I went to, now my therapist I stuck with for like 2.5 years. Then she actually got sick. I stopped. My brother goes to therapy. He's open about it. So therapy is like a blessing. I recommend that. Like even if you don't have anything crazy, even just going to talk to somebody that knows psychological stuff, just to make sure everything's intact. You know what I mean? I highly recommend that for everybody.
As you look back on the gambling, what do you think what did you kind of arrive at, like what it stemmed from
My grandfather and grandma, not the two that lived in the same house as me, but my mom's side, there was gambling problems going on, and so having that in your blood, just like somebody that's like an alcoholic, like you don't understand it. It's like, well, what do you mean just don't drink? It's like, I can't not drink, so like it is some psychological stuff. So that was in there. But again, it got to the point where instead of, like I said, I have a lot of potential and something that's finally starting to show. I just always knew this, but I wasn't doing anything. I was, like I said.
How did you make that switch?
It was the day I called GA. It was that day.
And it's interesting as I listen to you talk because you know the date so well, and I can almost see you putting yourself back at
yeah.
and like October 4th. I don't know.
Well, yeah, because I remember I was at GA. You got to say Chad, and I forget exactly how it was, but something like I'm an addict. My last bet was October 4th. That's why it's really in my head. But again, it's good. And with GA and stuff, you see people coming in, and you see that some people need this. They just like with alcohol. Look, I drink again. That's why I didn't have, again, I'm not trying to say brush stuff off. This is just me. This is what I did.
Well, tell me about that, because most people would say if you have an addiction that it's like when I'm done, I'm done. So, and again, we're not giving advice on what anyone else.
Yeah, no, I'm not a therapist, anything. Tell
me your experience.
So with the drinking, I felt that was really, and I knew it was because of the gambling. I would never have drank like that if it wasn't for me just literally trying to get to sleep that night. That's what it was. So, again, in the beginning, if I had a drink or something here, the twins would kind of like be on my ass and stuff. It's like, okay, like all for good because of just what I went through. But I knew that wasn't my problem.
It's interesting for you because like kind of the whole journey you admit that it's almost like you fooling yourself. And how do you know that now you're not fooling yourself, something like that?
Peace of mind. I go to sleep at night, literally, like you like I said, you know yourself. And I said it before, people that listen to my podcast, I try to be open. Like some of these things, when people listen, they're like, holy shit. But to me, it's like, it's whatever. Like, this is just you know what I mean? That's what I mean. Like, my whole life has for so long been this crazy ride. You know what I mean? It's like normal to me.
Right.
You know, when certain things come up, I don't understand, and people are like so shocked at stuff. I'm like, that doesn't really shock me that well. You know, that's just, people have seen different stuff. You know, some people are very sheltered. They don't go out and see clubs, and just using that as an example where I had the best tables and stuff. It's like it's just whatever. You know, just using that as an example. But I knew, like I said, I knew I had potential. Especially with the clothing, that was going to be like my main thing, and I'm still in the process of starting that up. But that was like what I thought I was going to do. I always had my clothes in high school and college. My closets were like a wardrobe. Everybody came and picked it. So I knew things, and like I said, my potential wasn't being used because all I was doing was gambling. It was all day. When I got home from work or whatever it was, I'm on the computer trying to see what the next bet's going to be. Like I said, I didn't watch TV shows. I didn't watch movies, and that'll all come into play in a little bit. That was my life. It was just all that. And so when I finally took the money and that was gone, I realized, I was like, this can't be it. You know what I mean? Because you hear stories, people win. There's always that day that it comes. The people, like, one of my favorite movies ever is Blow with Johnny Depp and with George Young. It's that story. It was the best ever. He even got away, and he had to do one, like the cops pretty much got him into doing one more trip, and then that was it. He went away to jail. So there's always that
next time.
Yeah, that there's always that.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of when I knew it. But I started going to GA and stuff. I started seeing, talking to my therapist, and just trying to get that mental back where it's like, okay, you're not this loser, we're going to come back. Because again, look, and what I was forgetting, one of the biggest things was, I was always relatively in shape. We talked about 7th and 8th grade. I was like a little chubby, but I was always like a taller kid. So, it kind of evened out. High school, always in shape. College, and then after college, I got into great shape.
It's funny. I remember. I don't know if you remember. At the time, it was Fit Zone. I was there in the summer once, and you were there. You were all tanned up.
Yeah.
And I remember because, like you said, you were always like a little.
That was probably summer 2010. That time, yeah.
You were ripped.
Yeah,
in high school, you were not heavy, but you were.
I wasn't ripped. I was absolutely.
You were fine.
Yeah.
But then I remember seeing you in that summer.
Like I was always average build. I was athletic average. I didn't have the 6-pack, but I never had like a gut.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And then you got really in shape.
Yeah. So I got really in shape, and weight with me has always been a struggle. I can lose it. I don't want to say quickly, but if I do the right things, it'll come off. But I can put it back on real quick. So I can't believe I forgot this. But in the process, it was pretty much that year and a half when I was waiting for my aunt to find out. With the drinking, it was just eating. Like eating just took over. So I gained like 160 pounds.
So at your highest, what were you?
366. I'm not even there yet in the story, so we'll get to that. So that was like the big thing. Now I'm like, I'm overweight. I don't want to go outside. I don't want to see anybody.
Right.
Let alone, I don't even have $1 to do anything. Whatever it was. So all that affected me. I'm going to GA. I'm seeing the therapist. And with GA, why I veered off it, and this was just me, was I was there for at least a year or two, because a year later, now I didn't really even watch sports now at this point when I was living with the twins. Don't even care about what's going on right now. A little bit of what was because it wasn't that action where I could sit down and bet on it, but also like I didn't care for once. So I remember like the following season, I started watching it again, and I was getting into it. And, I tell the guys at GA, and, again, every meeting is different. So it's not like every meeting's monitored. You know what I mean? Every GA meeting, same thing with Alcoholics Anonymous. So it's just a group of people. It's a guys that pretty much run their own form of it. Now they stick to it, And so, like I said, some people need it every week, but now I'm telling these guys, I'm watching sports, like I could watch it, it doesn't matter. I'm being honest. I'm being very open and honest. This is how I am. That's all, that at this point, that's all I knew, was just to tell it how it is. And it was like a blowback, kind of like, don't do that. It's like, well, I get it, again, because they've seen so many people come in and out, but that's where I say everyone's different.
Right.
And I'm telling you guys, I'm coming here, opening up to you guys, so it kind of started there, and then there was like a couple guys, like every week, where, they didn't do anything. They were talking it up, they were talking themselves up a little bit, and like the guys would just feed off that. And I was like, man, this isn't helping me. What was helping me was my therapist, who I could be real with, and she's giving it to me straight, no bullshit. That's what so that's when I veered off that, was doing the therapy thing. And now this is like 2016. So for like pretty much the next almost 2 years, almost like 3 years really, because really April 2019 is when it really started clicking. So for the next 3 years, I'm trying to lose this weight. And for anybody out there that's trying to lose weight, it's hard. You know what I mean? Especially when it's like, fuck, I got 160, like, because like at my best, like, is like 200, 205. So I'm like, I got like 100, what the fuck? So you go, you run, you watch what you eat, like 3 days go by, it's like, dude, this is years. This is years. Right. Like, fuck it, I'm gonna eat a pizza, and then now I'm off for like weeks. You know what I mean? So I stayed with the twins through February. So from October to February I was with them. Then I found this one place back in our hometown in Bridgewater. I rented a room from a guy, and this guy he was a good guy, whatever, but it was just, yeah, it was just like, I was just like, man, what am I doing? I was like, but again, I love staying with the twins, but I felt like I was not like, a little inconvenience. You got somebody staying in your house, you know what I mean? And so finally, though, that January, or right in February, I started working at this other construction place. This guy hired me, so I was working with him. Then I moved to this room. And again, you want to talk about like being at rock bottom, but on the come up. So I'm renting a place from this guy, His girlfriend comes over like on the weekends. He's got 2 dogs, which I wanted to kick through the wall. They were just so annoying. And it was like $800 a month, but I was like, now at this time I wasn't talking to my aunt or my dad, okay? And I'm 100 and I put on a little bit more weight after, so I was probably like 120 pounds overweight. I got credit card debt out the butt, still owe people through the gambling. But I was like happy for the first time in forever. I had a plan. I had my own place where I could go to sleep, it was just a room, whatever. It was just a start. You know what I mean? It was just a start. So from there, that was only another 6-month thing, because then he had his girlfriend moving in. So from there, I got this little studio apartment in Manville that's near our hometown, for people that don't know. And it didn't even have a kitchen. So I had like a little stove, a little tabletop stove thing. But again, and it was like in the back of their house, but it was my own little place. So again, now, and this is really where I put on that extra like 40 pounds to get to 366. I'm working. I was doing some construction, but then I was also working at Lowe's. So again,
Are you afraid at that point, as you're getting up there? Because I know you mentioned before, and I remember your story about ashamed to kind of, like, you were in our hometown. Were you like petrified of seeing people that you?
I didn't go out.
But you went to work and.
Yeah, oh yes. See, with that Lowe's still, I was doing like a lot of like the overnights and stuff. And here's the thing, and that's a great question, because I didn't even think to say it, but when I was doing this, when I was working with my dad, when I was working overnight at Lowe's, at Home Depot, when I was home and working with my brother, and then when I was living in this little studio apartment in Manville, working at Lowe's overnight, I did that because I didn't want to see anybody. Listen, I couldn't have gone out and just grabbed a $100,000 a year job, but I had a resume where I could have easily have gone and gotten any kind of sales job I wanted. Right. But, because of the weight, that's 100% why I didn't do that. Right. So I planned it where, I was kind of not going to be seen for the most part. You know what I mean? And again, listen, I had even some of my best friends I didn't see for 2-3 years, right. 4 years, right. Even some of them. So now I'm in Manville. This is 2017 into 18. So I was there for 2 years. again, I'm working these dead end jobs. I don't mean that for people that do that. I don't mean to say that. That's,
Well,
you know,
but
but
not
to
where
me where I wanted to
where
be.
you
I'll be
wanted to
honest.
be in
Yeah,
life.
yeah. I didn't. You know, not as a dead end job for people that do that, but I knew I had so much more. So, but I'm doing this. I'm 160 pounds overweight, dead out the butt, but I was happy. I watched every fucking movie I missed. I watched every show. I mean, I watched Netflix like it owed me money. You know what I mean? I was getting my dollar's worth.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, like it wasn't great, but I took instead of the drinking, the gambling, like I said, eating then was my thing. And I always knew that I was going to lose the weight. I didn't know when or how. I knew I was, so I gave myself some time. I mean, obviously, you know, you're talking to yourself. You're just trying to make things work. But I was like, okay, you're not gambling. You're doing everything right. If you need a year to get your mind together, like I said, there was a year and a half, almost 2 years. I slept a couple hours a night, like every night when I was waiting for my aunt to find that. So, you know, it was McDonald's for lunch, Wendy's for dinner, kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And that's where I really put the weight on there. But I was obviously not happy because you want to be out, you want to interact.
Right.
You know,
I mean, you're a social
yeah,
guy.
yeah. I'm straight, so I because I always say that on the podcast, we love everybody. Like, yeah, it doesn't matter, but I'm straight, so you want to go out and meet girls.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing that, but
Because you felt like physically.
I'm not letting anybody see me.
Yeah.
Like I said, only a couple friends had come over, or I'd gone to their place. Like I'm talking like 3 or 4 friends really,
Yeah.
and so many people I mean, all my buddies wanted to see me and stuff, but I would always make something up. You know why, or kind of push it away. But
Tell me the story that I remember about you, the picture of the cast at the wedding with your friend that you talked about.
Picture of the cast.
Well, you Googled a cast.
Oh, okay.
This, I think, and I think this was important because it just really illustrates like kind of how you felt about it.
Yeah. No, that's great. And then what I'm also forgetting is how I got into the painting. Yeah, this was. When was this? This was when I was still with my dad, still living with my dad. It was the summertime, and one of my best friends from college had a wedding, and you know, I talk about it a lot on my podcast. It was always like, okay, I'm gonna drop I always felt like I was gonna drop like 40 pounds in a week. You know what I mean? And get it done. So he had his wedding coming up, and I'd say even like a month out almost, maybe I was delusional into thinking that just because I had a month to figure it out, but I was still going to go to it. And then like 2 weeks out, I knew I wasn't going to go. So I think it was on like a Saturday. I want to say that Friday I texted him, and I went on Instagram and looked up like casts, and we were actually working on a brand new edition. So I had a picture of the new edition with like a ladder and stuff going up to it, and I Googled like casts, and I told my buddy I fell off the roof and I fucked up my foot bad. And I thought at the time he kind of believed me. He didn't give me shit. He was one of the people that kind of knew I was going through stuff. He didn't really give me shit, but later on he said he knew I was lying. But that was one of the things where I was like, okay, what am I doing? And again, this was at the time after everything was done, but again, I'm waiting for them to find out, so that was still gonna come. Even though I was trying to work, trying to pay stuff off, they still didn't know what I did. Right. So that was in that time period, and I was like, damn, what am I doing, man? You know, because some of the guys I hadn't seen in years, there would have been nothing better than going to that wedding, seeing all them.
Sure.
So yeah, that was that story. Yeah. And then he came on the podcast and we talked about it.
So talk to me about where you are now with the painting, and we'll talk about, I mean, your most recent project with you saw in person at 22 Tap, but like where are we now? And then after all of that, because that was, I mean, it's a crazy story.
Yeah, and again, I apologize because I go, there's so many things, so
yeah.
like I forget stuff. So the painting, I'm living at the twins' place, and this was 2013 when Instagram really started going, getting real popular. The art scene really benefited from that. And again, I talked about where in freshman, sophomore year, I was still doing the graphic design stuff and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't see how you can make money. Now I post stuff, people could share it or just tag people and people see it. It's just a crazy thing with social media. When we were in college, Facebook just kind of came out, and it was still relatively new. It wasn't what it is now, and Instagram wasn't even around. So I didn't think that was a possibility, which is more why I veered toward that business route in my mind. I wear a suit every day. So now it's I'm getting back into art. Like I told you, the clothing thing started. So I'm sketching all different stuff all the time, all that kind of stuff. I'm at the Twins. They had just bought a house, and you know, it just came up one day because again, I like these artists and stuff, and I was looking at stuff, and one of my favorite guys was Alec Monopoly, and he kind of did like a Star Wars thing, and he did a Darth Vader thing, and I was like, you know, it would be cool to combine them or whatever. So I was like, you know, we would hang out at night, watch TV all together, and I just went out to Michael's, bought a canvas, and I never painted before. You know, like I said, I drew as a kid, always was into art, so I knew the whole thing. Took a couple art classes in college, but nothing crazy. So I just, you know, I painted, and you know, I showed them earlier what it was, and they loved it. I posted it onto Facebook and Instagram at the time. And what's funny is, again, I have that addictive personality, so when I do something, it's got to be 100 full speed ahead.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I posted stuff. People were like, oh, you did that, da 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 da. And this was right when the first like reboot of the Star Wars was coming out, like that. I guess it was the 7th one, but when that was all starting again. So I was like, okay, let's again. I you know, I've been paying down debts. Things are getting down. I'm like, let me see if I could do something with this. So I got like posters made. You know, again, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea how to look for different things, find the best price. So, you know, and my mom has a foundation for my great uncle, and they use FedEx a lot for printing. So I went to FedEx, got like 1,000 posters made. You know, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sell them for like $50 each. But, you know, that wasn't feasible. You know, into the places I was going, I went to every movie theater pretty much in New Jersey. I mean, like I'd say from like Central Jersey to North Jersey, every movie theater. My buddy came with me twice. I had the painting. I didn't have the posters yet. I'm like, listen, I like literally my speech was, so I painted this. And at the time I wanted to help. So Greater Newark Holiday Fund, they had a thing. So I was going to give them half of everything I made. So, and I knew that would help with sales and stuff, but that was always a thing with me, especially going through all my shit. One of my biggest things that hits my heart is like underprivileged kids. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, any of those things on Facebook where, I mean, if it's from somebody seeing their parent come home from the army to, you know, you just see underprivileged kids just happy to get something. Like, I cry like a little baby every time I see it. So that, I always love that kind of stuff, and, you know, especially helping people. So I wanted to try to give back. So I got 1,000 posters made, went to every movie theater I could find. Everything's corporate, so they can't really do that. So I found this one place right in Hillsborough. The lady was like, yeah, absolutely, go ahead. So I had set up a table. And again, this was big for me because, you know, I was nervous if maybe somebody would come and see me, because even, you know, I went from like that 360 down to like 310-ish. Then I got back up there, but so that's kind of where I was at, but still real heavy. So I'm always worried somebody's gonna, you know, see me and stuff. But, you know, that was a big thing just to even get out there. I had like a nice little setup, trying to sell them for like $50. They weren't selling, so then I ended up, and what I did was I told like 2 of the guys that I owed money. I was almost positive they were gonna sell out. You know what I mean? I was like, they gotta. You know what I mean? They gotta. I sold like, I'd say like half of what I had, but I had to start selling for like $25. So, I mean, I sold, you know, then it was like I'd give stuff out and this and that. You'll learn how business works. You know what I mean? Again, I was a little naive. You know, I was trying something legit this time, but, you know, you see with the podcast, getting views, nothing's easy. Everything's very hard, very difficult. Sure. So I just thought I'm going to print out 1,000 posters.
Yeah, people are going to buy it.
Yeah, so I still did well. I was able to give, I think I gave like 5 and 5. I think I gave either $500 or $1,000 to the fund, you know, which was great. And then, but I wasn't able to give the full amount to the 2 guys. And I'll never forget, this is one thing that really struck me. As I said before, all the bookies kind of like, they like me. You know, I mean, like I'm friendly, I try to be funny and a good dude. But I called this one guy up, and he had his higher up with him in the car, and, you know, I had told him, what happened, and I just remember him laughing, like both of them like laughing at me, and I was just like, A, I hate this motherfucker, and B, this is not me. You know what I mean? This is I'm not, I'm not playing games anymore. And that was still when I was at the Twins' house. So, you know, then I moved and I started painting. So like I said, I put that one up. I did another one for my niece. I did an aerial piece for my niece when I was still at the Twins. That was my second piece I ever did, and I gave it to her and posted it. I moved to this guy. Now when I'm renting the room from this guy, that's when I did I think I showed you my brother, a portrait for my brother and his daughter. And that's kind of where like things blew up, because, you know, that's something that like everybody would like, a portrait. And like I kind of developed this different style, and it was like my own little thing. What I love to do is pop art, street art. You know, I always used to love posters. So when I was a kid growing up, I had posters filled my walls. I like that kind of look. If you've seen some of the stuff that I've done on my own, it's that kind of vibe. Like I said, street art, pop art kind of stuff. But the portrait really blew up. So, you know, I didn't charge the Twins, obviously, for what I did. I didn't charge my niece, so I didn't charge my brother. So then the fourth painting I ever did, somebody hit me up. I did an Ultimate Warrior one. I did another Star Wars thing. And now with social media, you post stuff and it just grows. You know, it just grows and it grows. So that's what I left out when I said I was living in this guy's place. And then when I moved to Manville, even though I didn't have a kitchen, I'm overweight. Like, I was like, man, I love doing this. I was like, this is like, I'm doing something I love. I'm doing the right thing. You know, every day, you know, at least one point it came into my head, like, oh, man, you got all those fucking bills to pay, you know, but I had a plan. So I was like, it's gonna get to, you know, things are gonna get paid off eventually. I just gotta stick to it. So really at that time, it was just a wait. So, you know, then I moved to Manville, and that's when I just started like experimenting with stuff. And for the most part, everything was mine. There was like 5 things somebody sent me, and they were like, hey, can you redo this? And like in the beginning, I kind of like redid stuff. Not that I said it was mine, but like I would never do that again. Like I'm doing what I want. If you have something and you want me to do it, I'm doing it my way.
Sure.
But yeah, the portraits took off. I started like making like money, and like things started getting paid off quicker. And that's where I was now, where I'm at Manville now. I got up to 366. Then I got back down to like 315. You remember Drew Diorio?
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my best friends. He stuck with me through everything. He had a wedding. Now, I was so nervous for okay, they got engaged the summer before, they got married in October. And he wanted me to come to like the engagement. He had this really nice thing planned where him and his girl were out on a boat. They came back, and everybody was on this like little deck area waiting for them. And I remember I wanted to go to that so bad. I just couldn't. I couldn't go, and he never gave me shit. Just like Douglas, when I faked about the foot, you know, my boys never gave me shit because they knew if I wasn't doing it, there was a reason. Yeah. You know, they weren't like happy they wanted me there, but they didn't like make me feel like a piece of shit. So I remember like his brother's husband, people that couldn't come, they were sending in videos and stuff, just saying, hey, congratulations, guys. I made up some excuse not to do that. So now I'm like, okay, I got a year, you know, until the wedding. And I have to go to this wedding now. Like now I have to go to this. At this point I had seen him, my buddy Eugene, you remember Eugene, maybe once. So, you know, they seen me, you know, and they didn't, nobody cared. That was the thing. Like nobody ever gave a shit that I was like overweight. They just wanted to see me, you know, everything be cool. But again, at that time, you know, I didn't want to, you know, have anybody see me like that. So I remember like, man, like that year, I would always think about it. But again, not like in a bad way because I had so much time, and I was thinking I would be able to lose the weight. But like 2 months out now, I was like at like 340. I got down to like 315 for the wedding. And I remember like just those, like that week ahead of it, like my mom, my aunts texted me, you know, my brother, they all knew I was fucking stressed out. You know what I mean? Just to go and do it. So I went there, had a great time with everybody. Now these are some of my best friends I haven't seen in 5 years. Everyone loves seeing me. And that's really where the spark was to really pick it up. I was like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? I'm like, I got all this other stuff going for me. This is the last piece of the puzzle. Nobody gives a shit. So yeah, I went to the wedding, and you know, we had a great time and everything. Now all the paintings are picking up. So this is like October of, I guess it was 2018. I ended up moving to Toms River that summer. So from that point, I kind of, no, that's a lie. after the wedding, the 2 months, I was just so relieved it was done. That's when I got up to 366. So I just kind of let myself go a little bit. But again, it's so weird to think back to that time because I was so happy. You know what I mean? Like I was sitting at home after work, either painting or watching stuff, and I was like in a good place mentally. I just kind of like let it go. Obviously, I wish I didn't let myself go that much, but I let that go for everything that I've been through. Just to get my mind back. That was like a big thing, just to have my mind back on track. So, this is like 2018. So like just right around 2 years ago. I'm planning to move down to here. My dad goes to Florida, so he let me stay at his place. He goes to Florida for like 7 months, so I'm staying at his place. And when I got up to 366, really, it was, in the beginning, it was just not eating fast food and stuff. One of my good things was I always loved water. Like, I just chug water, so like it wasn't soda, or else who the fuck knows, you know what I mean? And so just not eating that stuff, I didn't like, because again, I was always like, I got to do it right away. I got to lose all this weight in a month. It's like, you had to get in my mental that this is going to take years. This is going to be a year process. And so in the beginning, it was like 3 phases. I was like, I went from like, I remember getting from 360 to like that, back down to that 315 where I was for the wedding. And that was the lightest I had been in like 4 years, was that 315 area. So I remember just cracking 300. And then I remember getting down to like 280, and that now I'm living down the shore. I'm by myself. I'm working again, just moving again and stuff. Just really helps stuff fly off. So this was last winter into the spring. I had finally gotten down to like 255, and I was just feeling good, man. The paintings were just taking off. Things were great. I didn't post a picture of myself like real time. It was always like throwbacks or something like that, or like a painting or stuff. So it was April. It was a week before my birthday. I remember getting on the scale. Now I was at like 355, and I wanted to do it at like, at 255. I wanted to do it at like 266, just at that 100-pound mark, but I wasn't ready yet. So I was like, fuck it. I had just done these 2 awesome paintings. They were hanging up at a barbershop. I was working on another one. I was like, fuck it. Me and my brother had talked about possibly starting a podcast, for a little bit of time. And again, just going through that, again, not that I'm a therapist, not that I think I can help anybody, but I just thought that what I went through, and because nobody knew, I thought it would help. So I typed up this like really long thing. I remember setting the camera down on the thing. I went and sat by one of my paintings, and I actually had on my self-perfected shirt, that's the clothing thing, and I had made like a shirt back in like 2015, like I made like 300 shirts, people wanted them. And it was actually the first time it ever fit me, that I ever wore it really. Like I never wore my t-shirt, and I was like, okay. So I remember going through the pictures, I found the one that I liked, put it all out there. I summarized, I don't know how long we've been going, but I summarized it as best I could, and I remember I tried to take away, because again, this was long as hell, you know what I mean? With Instagram, I had to like put it into the comments. I had like 6 things in the comments because it was so long. But I couldn't edit it anymore. It was everything. Just, I didn't say numbers and stuff yet at that point, but just about taking the money and everything, and I put that out there, and it was just such an explosion. The response, so many texts and messages, just like, I had no idea.
Sure.
Like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people, even throughout it, like I said, I had seen a couple buddies here and there. They apologized, so I said, like, stop it. Like, I lied to, like, they're like, I thought maybe something was going on. This is me. This is me. Right. You know what I mean? This has nothing to do with you guys. Right. So yeah, I put that out. This was last April, and that I was at like 255. Right now I'm down to like 235, and I still got like 35 pounds to go. It's like the last little bit, but it just feels great. I went from not leaving the house for like 4 or 5 years to this summer, or the summer that just passed. I went in Texas for my buddy's bachelor party. Went to Italy. Yeah. Went out again. Started going out and seeing people again and stuff. And again, I'm not where I want to be. You know what I mean?
Nobody is.
Yeah. Like I know I'm gonna get there, but so it's fun now to enjoy this journey. I still got a little bit of 30 pounds. Somebody's like, holy shit, how you can do that? I'm like, this is nothing. This is nothing. You know what I mean? Yeah. I lost like a person. You know what I mean? Like more than some people. And yeah, because I'm down like 127 pounds. And so yeah, I got like 35, 40 pounds to go, but it feels great.
Seems to me like the lesson here more than anything is if there's anything you like look back, and obviously I think it's easy to go back because I won't change anything, but as I listen to you, one of the things that I think earlier on was it seems like the explosion and everything went right when people kind of knew, and people are more willing, when the people that are close to you are willing to help if they know, and the community around you. It's almost like you isolated yourself for so long, and it was like, I know you had to figure it out, but we all have friends and people and family for a reason, and I think being so open, and I think more so than anything too with that post, and the reason why I wanted to have you on too, is people appreciate the story and the journey, and maybe
Hey, we're gonna pause. One of the things got disconnected.
Whoops.
It's okay, just kind of start. I'll be able to edit in.
Yeah, we do this all the time too.
Let me see.
Hello?
You're good.
Go.
So I think that the journey for you seemed to turn the corner once you did involve the people that actually cared about you, and it was almost like you keep saying, I was the one that cared, like no one cared, like they just wanted to see me, they wanted to see me, and that's a big lesson.
Yeah, and looking back on it, could I have gone to this point sooner? Probably. I just wasn't, and again, that's why I say everyone's different. When I had the weight, and I'm eating fucking pizza after I just had Wendy's or McDonald's for breakfast, Burger King for lunch, Wendy's for dinner, and pizza for dessert. I knew at some point I was gonna lose it. I had to get there. And again, you could say it was making an excuse to not do it yet, and it kind of was, but at the same time, everything I had just fucking gone through, like I just knew mentally I wasn't ready to, again, losing that kind of weight, or even just 10 pounds for somebody, it's a commitment. So yeah, it was. I put it all on myself. I used, like I said, I turned so many things down where now, yeah, you could look back and I could have gone to that wedding. Nobody would have cared. I could have had a great time. It was just finally doing that, and that's another thing, I talk about and I think about is, like I said before, people that want to lose weight, I don't want to say like it's that easy where all you have to do is watch you eat and exercise, but at the same time, it is that easy. Right. That's all you have to do. Right. Like I said, you don't have to find the 1 in a million ticket or anything. It's that simple. You hate what you're doing, you can't just go quit your job and not work, but you can look into something else, and figure out how. Maybe you got to take classes, maybe you got to put in a little bit of extra work, sacrifice another year or 2, maybe 3 years, but then in the long run, it's going to be the benefit. So things don't seem that easy, but at the same time, a lot of things are that easy. Right. And that's it was just about me finally just getting out there and just showing my face again, and just putting all that shit behind you. Like I said, when those guys were laughing at me, when I was at home not wanting to go out, it was all in my head. I was just doing it to myself, and like nobody would have cared. Sure.
So where are we now? Where are we going? What's going on?
So with the clothing, and one of my problems is I always try to keep people up to date, and I like saying that, but you know how things are. You own a business, and some things are uncontrollable, but the art now is what I'm doing. That's my business. That's my life.
Well, tell us more about that. Like, can people buy? How does it work? How does your business work?
So, I had a website a year ago. It wasn't anything crazy. I'm actually putting everything together now because now, like we talked about, me and my brother have a podcast. I just did episode 21, so that's finally been out there. We were talking about that for a year and a half. That's finally going. The clothing, I could have put out like 6, 7 different complete collections I've had ready to go. The thing with the clothing was, how I am. I'm going to be the face. You know what I mean? But I wasn't ready to wear the stuff and post it, so I wasn't ever ready to do it. So that's where I thought that was going to be what it was. That's going to be like a side thing, like the podcast. The podcast I don't make money from, but the clothing is going to come out. It's just not going to. It's going to be like a side thing. So I'm going to put that out like here and there. And the paintings, that's my life now. So I have a website that's going to be coming out I don't want to say a date because I people that listen to my podcast, they always get mad at me. I say something, but yeah, it's coming out within the next literally a month or two. It's pretty much ready to go.
Yeah.
I have my Instagram, which is at Chad Fandel, ChadFandel. I have I have a lot of stuff on there. There's a little tab where it says paintings, you know, where you have a little story thing. So you can click that and you can see almost all my stuff. And right now, I just got done. I had like 25 holiday paintings to do, people that are giving them for gifts.
Sure.
And yeah, you could just reach out to me. The portraits is where the money's really been. If you guys go on my website, I don't really post the portraits because, again, what I love to do is that pop art, street art stuff. You'll see the mural that I did at 22 West Tap and Grill. Awesome place, awesome food.
Talk about that was just the new thing, and actually Hannah was there the opening night, and I saw. I mean, it was unbelievable. So talk about that project. So
again, that's what I love to do. I love when somebody, you know, if you don't know like what it is, like a commission is somebody will come to you with an idea and you'll do it. I've done stuff too where I've done it and sold it. I don't have anything for sale right now, so I mean that's a great place to be. You know, I don't have everything that I have is gone. But this last year, I haven't done, literally the entire year, I have not done one piece to sell. Everything's been for people. Again, I'm not complaining, that's amazing. I sat down for a while and because again, I don't want it to just be the portraits, even though I love it. I love doing them for people. You know, I raised the price a little bit because I want to do less, but more, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, I don't want it to be where now I'm doing something I love, you know, everything turned around and I hate it all of a sudden. So over the last couple of months, I sat down, put like a real nice business plan together. I mean, I'm pretty much booked January, February, and into March already for commissions. So, you know, that's how that all goes. But that kind of stuff for the mural for 22 West, you know, my brother knew him and Kevin.
The owner.
Yeah, and he had DJ'd for him a couple times for like different stuff. So Kevin put on this nice expansion to 22 West, and he listened to the podcast, and he always heard me talking about art. So he checked out my stuff, he liked it, he asked my brother if I would, you know, be interested in doing something, and he hit me up, and he just gave me the idea. It's a mural of Anthony Bourdain, and he just said, you know, I want Anthony Bourdain and the quote, and I'll mock up some stuff. I sent it to him, the first thing he absolutely loved. It was that easy. And so for something like that, you know, it's big. It's a 10 foot by 10 foot. Actually, it's 11 by 10 foot wall. It's 100 square feet.
How long did it take you to do?
60 hours total. Now that's my fourth. It's my fifth wall, but really my fourth wall mural. The first one I ever did, I just went and sketched. It took me 3 days just to sketch the image, and I'm like, yeah. So I started like researching stuff, and don't get me wrong, you know. And again, listen, I love my stuff. I think I got some really great stuff. But at the same time, I got a long way to go to where I know I can get to. And there's some people that do amazing stuff, and they'll do freehand. Like, not everybody that does murals and big walls uses stencils or projectors. But 85% of the people, and it's just a business thing. You got to plan out how much paint you need. You got to, you know, the time. You want to cut the time because you're not really getting paid in hours. You're getting paid by the project. So like I said, the first one I did, I drew for 3 days. And I got to the same point where I would have, where what I learned to do was I use a projector. So I draw everything before. This way I'm able to kind of get an idea of the colors, you know, how much paint I'll need. And I draw it all before, then you project it up there. So just to project it up there, though, to draw it took 5 hours. To project it up there was 6 hours. You know, I had to go at night when it's dark. So that was 6 hours. And then just, you know, you paint it. And that was like another 50-something hours, you know, so that's how something like that goes. And a lot of people will use stencils. I mean, I follow so many people on Instagram, and, you know, they're on the wall, they got stencils, or a lot of them will do the projections, whatever it is. But that's, again, not everybody does that. Some people will do freehand.
Yeah.
And again, like one of the walls I did at my buddy's CrossFit gym, you know, it had like, it looked like the logo was coming out of the wall. And so some of that, like I was, you know, freehanded, but for the most part, you know, I had it planned out. And so that's like the process that I take for something like that.
That's right. And I know the response to that was amazing, right?
Yeah. And, you know, I gave him a really good price, just because he's, you know, great guy. That's in my hometown. But I knew, again, this was like I did a couple walls, and I love what I did, but they had their ideas. This was my first thing. I was like, okay, I'm going to show people what I can do.
Sure.
I just knew, I mean, when I was doing it, you were there, it can be closed off, and you know how it's like open.
Yeah.
So it's a whole other section for events and stuff. So if they need it to be, it'll be closed off, but it's like you can see through it. It's like a window. So I'm painting, and like this is like 3 or 4 nights, and people are just knocking like, oh yeah. And then some people came in. I got like 3 people that want walls done. So I just knew that was gonna come.
That's
so
great.
when he gave me that opportunity, I was like, this is awesome. This is awesome. Yeah.
So it sounds like we're moving in the right direction.
Oh, we're moving. Oh, we're everything's like I said. I want to say everything's great. You still get stressed out. Everybody gets stressed out, and that's another thing. You can't think like, okay, what I went through. Obviously, I don't ever want. I'm not going to put myself in that position again.
Yeah.
Something could happen out of your control, bad and stuff, and fuck your life up. But as far as me controlling my stuff, I'm never going to put myself in that spot again. But you have to always know things are going to come along.
Sure.
My grandpa passed away last February. Just anything. You can have a bad day. So you got to always have that in the back of your mind that, it's never as high as it seems, but it's never as low as it seems.
Right.
As long as you keep yourself grounded, you find out who you are. Like I said, those days when I was eating, drive through stuff 3 times a day reading books. I was reading everything I wanted to do, researching everything I wanted to do. I found out about myself. I found out who I was, who I can be. And like I said, it's just a matter of putting a game plan together and taking it from there. But yeah, everything's great, man. We got the podcast rocking. I got this website that's going to come out. It's going to be chadfandel.com.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to have everything on there. Everything will go through there, the clothing, podcast, and everything. And like I said, man, I'm booked for almost like 3 months in paintings. I mean, it's a blessing. And that's another thing. It's just, don't take anything for granted, but, enjoy stuff too. You saw the mural and stuff, and you were there for Thanksgiving Eve. That place was just crazy, but he had like a little like soft opening, and he did like a little video, people getting fed, and it's like all his close friends were there. And that was, again, even Thanksgiving Eve was really like, that was the first time I was out with my brother at a bar, because he DJ'd it that night. In years. So again, this is still new to me. You know what I mean? Even going to the soft opening, seeing people I haven't seen in years. And again, being still 35, 40 pounds overweight of what I want to be, I just put, like I said, you put all that shit behind you, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? What other people think doesn't matter, as long as you know what you're doing is right, you're having fun. So yeah, it's just crazy. It's crazy to think. Like I said, I tell the story. I'm sure people are gonna listen and be like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah.
Because I went on one of my friends' podcasts, and some people that didn't even know I did one, they heard my story, and the same thing. People from high school, holy shit, dude! Like, yeah. So.
I mean, first of all, thank you for sharing this.
Yeah, man. Of course.
I hope that it's beneficial for you.
Yeah, I love it.
And I hope that. I mean, I'm super excited and proud of the journey you've been
Appreciate
through.
it.
That you'll talk about it.
Mhm.
I just I know. I think as I was thinking about it, and you were talking about the stuff that you kind of did, it talks about what any sort of addiction does. Because I know you, and that's not you.
Exactly.
It's like, and you see what happens when you're put in that position, and I think it does. For me, just talking, the word I think about is like having empathy for people, understanding that everyone's actions sometimes aren't because of, that's not who you are.
Right,
it's
right.
just what you're doing
Right.
at that moment. Go ahead.
And touching on that, like this cancel culture that we live in, where like somebody does something and then like people want them to like never like work again and stuff. And listen, some stuff that, I don't mean everything that people do, but I believe in like second chances. Like me doing what I did, taking money from my grandparents, that kind of stuff. Like I don't want that in 10 years to be what they say. I don't think you ever change. I think people are always them, but some people have demons that come along. So that's what I had for a couple years. So I don't want to say I'm a completely different person than I was 5 years ago, but I got rid of all that bad shit, and I'm back to, I've kind of perfected, I don't want to say all my stuff, but they have perfected who I am. And that's like one of the slogans, like my clothing, self-perfected clothing company, nothing and no one's perfect, but you can't perfect yourself. And I just feel that that's how it is. You're never at 100%. You always got to work on it. You always got to adjust things and that kind of stuff. But yeah, with addictions and stuff, man, it's crazy out there. And like I said, they just kind of put that gambling into that category of, the drugs and alcohol. But drugs, man, that'll take your life. It'll kill you. You can't get killed from gambling. But somebody will kill you because you own the money. But
what it might lead to.
Exactly. Look, I was drinking every day. You're throwing up once a day.
Yeah.
And even talking about this, and I always say it when I tell this story, I know I go quick. Because there's so much, going back to that place, so if I was all over the place, I apologize to whoever was listening. I try to get it I try to calm it down, but that's how I get with this, because it's like, I want to like beat myself up. I want to go back there and punch myself in the face. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's crazy. It's scary out there. Like you said, you touched on it. Be open. Talk to somebody. And again, it's that easy sometimes. Sometimes it's that easy, and just to know that you're not alone out there. You know what I mean? And like I said, like I have a friend who lost her brother less than a year ago to drugs, and it's just tore the family up. It completely tore the family up. And like I read a quote somewhere. It was something about like the drugs don't love you or whatever, like your family does. And it's like, I mean, like you look at the news and stuff, and just that's what I mean. Like this twilight zone that we live in. Like the things that are important aren't touched on. Like the things that the opioids and the heroin has done, especially like in our area, New Jersey and stuff like that. It's just, it's crazy, And you gotta get in front of it.
Thank you so much for coming
Dude,
on.
no problem, man.
I appreciate it, and I hope that the audience listening, like what I appreciate about the story more so than anything, there was a lot of twists and turns, and there was a lot of detail, but you're going through back and how it was for you.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot to learn from that. So thank you so much.
Dude, no problem, man.
Appreciate it.
Glad to see you again, man.
Yeah,
this is awesome.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right.
How long was that?
An hour and 20?
Yeah, an hour
Wow,
25.
holy cow.
Yeah, that was a long time.
Holy cow. That felt like 10 minutes.